Horse feeds and supplements developed by Kentucky Equine Research are research tested and race proven. For over 30 years, top trainers and veterinarians have relied on science, technology, and products from Kentucky Equine Research to fuel top performance from the breeding shed to the sales ring and the track. Look for KER products and learn more at KER.com. Kentucky Equine Research, world leaders in equine nutrition.
Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm your host Stan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. It's closing weekend at Saratoga, and Daily Racing Form handicappers Mike Beard, David Aragona, and I will take a look at the two Grade 1 races at the Spa on Saturday. The Jockey Club Gold Cup for older horses on the dirt, the Flower Bowl Invitational for older fillies and mares on the turf. Plus we have graded stakes action for 3-year-olds on the turf at Del Mar to cover the Del Mar Derby. Nicole, Russo's Pedigree Pick segment, presented by Kentucky Equine Research, focuses on Saratoga's 6th race on Saturday. Marcus Hirsch has his weekend game plan, and we also have best bets for you. We're all standing in line, and we all are ready, so let's break out of the gate. We begin out of the gate with a look at the DRF Saturday race of the day. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup. We're going 1.25 miles on Saratoga's main track, and you can download free Formulator Pass performances on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Also, you can get the expanded stakes video preview of the Jockey Club Gold Cup and all the other graded stakes races all weekend long at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Last year's Jockey Club winner is in the lineup. That is Happy Saver, back to defend his crown. The Suburban winner of 2021, Max Player, third in last year's Travers in Belmont. He's here. A speedy horse down on the inside is Forza Dioro, a very strong supporting cast. Let's see who Mike and David like on top in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
I don't know how interesting this Jockey Club Gold Cup is from a wagering perspective. It doesn't feel like there are that many different ways to go in a short field. I'm going to take Forza Dioro down on the rail. He's the morning line favorite. I guess at the end of the day, you could say he has much more to prove than either of the other two short prices in here, Max Player or Super Saver. Certainly that's probably the case, but this horse just looks like he's shown this kind of potential basically right from the start. It always felt like he was headed towards races like this. He just had trouble staying on the track. He came back off the layoff last time with a really impressive win over what turned out to be a very solid allowance field. Another triple-digit buyer for him. It feels like he could be forward in this race where there's not that much speed for him to have to deal with. I'm just going to take him in here. I'm not going to sit here and suggest he's some kind of great bet if he does go off favored. But I don't love the recent form of Super Saver since he's come back from the layoff. I didn't really want Max Player again this time. I've been chasing that horse for a while. He finally paid off at a good price when he won the Suburban. I'll try to beat those two horses this time with Forza Dioro.
While I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily against the short prices in this Jockey Club Gold Cup, none of the three who figure to take the most money are runners that I would really want to bet in this race. I mean, the number one, Forza Dioro, has upside and appeal in this handicap division as he's moving up second off the layoff, but he's the kind of horse that I would want to take in this race at a price, and I feel like he could be favored, and I'm just not sure that I would want him at around 8-5 or 7-5 in this race, given that he does have to answer some substantial class questions. So I want to look beyond the three favorites and go with the number 5 Night Ops. Let's take a look at this horse's last race when he was second in the restricted Alydar Stakes behind Art Collector, who has come back with a vengeance this year for trainer Bill Mott. And I thought that Night Ops put in a really game effort here. This Friday card at Saratoga was one where speed seemed to be doing well, and Art Collector had everything his own way on the front end, really put the pedal to the metal on the far turn to open up on the field. And I thought Night Ops was really game to stick with this horse all the way around the far turn turn through the stretch, never stopped trying to win this race, and Night Ops has never tried this 1.25 mile distance before, but watching his recent races, he's the kind of runner that gives me the impression that the extra furlong is going to be to his liking, and I know that he might be inferior from a class standpoint to horses like Happy Saver and Max Player, and some might even say Forza Dioro, but his speed figures put him right there, and I'm going to say that Art Collector, who beat him last time, could have been the favorite in this race if they had decided to run here instead of the Charlestown Classic. So I'm going to go for Night Ops, who figures to be the 4th choice on the board in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
I won't strenuously argue with anyone that believes that the number 2 Max Player's most recent victory in the Suburban, the race we're going to show you right now, was simply due to the muddy track and the fact that the big favorite, Dubai World Cup winner Mystic Guide, was injured after the race and might have injured himself during the race. That being said, I do believe that Max Player is a very strong contender in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. This is a horse that showed a lot of ability as a 2-year-old into his 3-year-old season and just seemed to have one tough trip after another. And if it wasn't a tough trip, it would be an awkward pace situation. Last time out in the Suburban, Ricardo Santana decided to try to get Max Player into the race earlier, and I think that made all of the difference. He got up close to the lead, he made the lead turning into the stretch, and he was very game late. Forza Dioro could be the controlling speed from the inside, but I have a feeling that if the pace is not fast, Max Player can attach himself to Forza Dioro's hip and not be too far away. And if there's one thing we know about Max Player, he wants every bit of this 1.25 miles. I'll go with Max Player, the number 2 in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Nicole Russo's Pedigree Pick segment is up next. It focuses on the 6th race at Saratoga on Saturday, and it's presented by Kentucky Equine Research.
Hey everyone, it's the final Saturday of the Saratoga meet, and the card just wouldn't be complete without a couple of those terrific maiden special weights for juveniles. In this segment presented by our friends at Kentucky Equine Research, I want to take a look at some of the pedigrees in the day's 6th race. You'll see the field here for 2-year-olds going 1 mile and a 16th on the lawn. Now, one of the few in here with prior experiences, I'll Figure It Out, who's actually cross-centered at Kentucky Downs on Sunday, so he'll be getting on the turf either way. This colt made his debut sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt, finished 5th. Now that he's got some experience under his belt, I'm excited to see him both going longer and to see him on the grass. He's out of an unraced mare by the versatile sire Lemon Drop Kid, winner of the Belmont Stakes. He's by freshman sire Mahayman, who I think might turn out to be a little bit of a hidden turf sire. Now, his sire Tappet has gotten Grade 1 winners on turf, on synthetic, and Mahayman's own stride and hoof shape, when I went out to get a closer look at him at Shadwell Farm, really made me think he could have handled turf, even though he did his best work going long on the dirt. It's certainly a pedigree full of stamina. Another one in here I took a look at was Callaway Peak by Arrogate out of Filimbi. She a turf stakes performer. Now, Arrogate doesn't yet have a winner from his first crop of juveniles this year, but remember, he really didn't break out until the summer of his 3-year-old year. I think what we're seeing is that his runners need time to mature and they need distance. I don't think of Arrogate particularly as a turf sire prospect, but the distance of this maiden definitely suits, and Filimbi adds the turf ability to the equation. The other one whose pedigree really jumped out at me was Annapolis by Warframe, a good juvenile and turf sire. And out of My Miss Sophia, Grade 1 placed on both dirt and turf, going out for the career debut for Todd Pletcher. See what happens when these juveniles come out of the gate on Saturday at Saratoga. And thank you for tuning in to preview it and tuning in all this summer meet on Out of the Gate.
4 graded stakes on tap at Saratoga on Saturday. We'll now take a peek at the other Grade 1 on the card. It's the Flower Bowl. Here's the field. We're going 1 3/8 miles on the turf for fillies and mares. $600,000 is the purse. Remember to check out those expanded stakes video previews of all the graded races all weekend long at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. The story of this race is Warlike Goddess, who has emerged into one of the top turf females in the entire country. Her last 3 races have been breathtaking. We'll talk a lot about Warlike Goddess in this segment, but let's also maybe focus on a couple of other runners in here. Chad Brown has Great Island, a horse that just seems to be coming into her own. Let's watch her most recent race at Monmouth on the Haskell undercard. And this was a race in which she came from far, far out of it to win. It was a really striking late rally. Now, she kind of deserved this win because the race prior, she was wired by Mean Mary at Pimlico in a race where there was just no pace for her. She needs pace. She may not get it in here, and she's going to have to try to stretch her ability all the way out in distance. But this horse has a lot of upside potential, and if you think Warlike Goddess might stub her toe after 3 very good efforts, perhaps Great Island and Chad Brown at a price is someone that you'd be interested in. La Signare might have a little bit more tactical speed, and she's faced some very, very good competition. Let's watch La Signare's most recent effort, a 3rd place finish in the Diana earlier in the meet. And she worked out a pretty decent trip in the early portion of this race, saving ground, but as you see, she's got to move sideways to the outside at a crucial juncture, just as the winner Althika is commencing her big rally. La Signare is able to get up for 3rd. She has always been a consistent, hard-hitting horse. The distance is a question, but she does have tactical speed and could be getting a jump on the favorite. And as for the favorite, Mike and David have plenty more.
I'm just not trying to beat the likely heavy favorite in this Flower Bowl. That is the number 3 Warlike Goddess, who just has come back off a layoff and picked up where she left off this spring for Bill Mott. She looked like she was developing into one of the top horses in this division, going back to Gulfstream and Keeneland this year, and she came back at Saratoga last time in the Glens Falls, and we'll take a look at that race, and she was just so impressive, inhaling this field off the far turn as they come through the stretch. Julien Lebreu really never even had to ask her for her best, as she just easily runs away from this group across the wire, and she's facing a couple of the same foes here, including My Sister Nat for the Chad Brown barn. Her toughest rival could be Great Island, who's moving up also from the Chad Brown stable after a good closing win in the Matchmaker. But the way that Warlike Goddess is progressing so quickly as a 4-year-old filly who just seems like she's relishing these marathon distances on the turf, I don't think that anybody's going to be able to withstand her late charge in this race. So it's Warlike Goddess for me in the Flower Bowl.
You always hate to come on here and look at these Grade 1 races that feel like they could go to several different horses and give out the chalk, but it looks like Warlike Goddess, to me anyway, is going to be too good for this field. She's made very few mistakes in her career so far. Her win up here at Saratoga back on Whitney Day was just a really impressive win, another really impressive win where it didn't even feel like she was asked for her best at any real point in the race, and she just ran right by My Sister Nat, who is probably her main competition once again back here in the Flower Bowl. She has a running style that I guess could leave her vulnerable to a slow pace or maybe to a difficult trip. To me, she's overcome everything so far. She's going to be a short price in here, but I will not try to beat her. I just think she's going to win again, guys.
David and Mike have covered Warlike Goddess's attributes in very good detail, and I'm not going to really add much other than she's my pick as well. I'm just not that interested in betting against her. You saw how she swept by her opposition last time out at Saratoga. Those are graded stakes horses, and she simply played with them in the stretch. There's always a concern when you have a one-run closer that maybe the trip won't be there or that the pace will be glacial and she won't be able to overcome very slow fractions, but the way she's finished in her races, I just think she's the best horse coming in, and this is her distance, where horses like La Signare and Great Island, very classy horses in their own right, they have to prove that they can get up to this route. Warlike Goddess, my top pick, pretty much everybody's top pick at Saratoga in the Flower Bowl. Marcus Hirsch's weekend game plan is up next. As always, Marcus looking for a hint of value.
Hello, Marcus Hirsch, correspondent and handicapper for Daily Racing Form with weekend game plan for September 4th, 2021. I'm going to go through these 3 races in the order I wrote about them for DRF.com and DRF Print. Start with the Jockey Club Gold Cup, newly switched from Belmont to Saratoga and moved earlier on the calendar. Pretty limited field here, 3 main contenders. I'm going to take what I hope will be the longest price of those 3. Max Player. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get too excited about Max Player. I don't think he's a Breeders' Cup Classic type of horse or anything, but my thinking here with this race, as far as extracting a bit of value, is that Forza di Euro on the rail, he's a horse that you'd bet in a race like the Whitney, which was August 7th, where there were a bunch of good horses, good established Grade 1 horses, and this is a rising horse who you're going to get a price on and you can project improvement. Here, you're not getting any price. I think this horse is going to be every bit as short as his 8-5 morning line. I do respect him. I don't think that he's beaten any horses of consequence yet, which is not to say he can't. He's beaten them definitively in his final start of 2020 and first of 2021. He's had 2 ankle surgeries. He hasn't been a mile and a quarter yet. I think he'll stay, but I just don't think he's exceptional. I think he's a bad price. Happy Saver was fine in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, winning last year narrowly over Mystic Guide, who transitioned to age 4 much better than he did. He just has done nothing so far this year to suggest that he's going to develop from that peak of 2020 or even get back to it. Max Player was a pretty good third in the 2020 Travers. Got a 99 buyer in that race for what it's worth. He started his year with an over-ambitious spot in the Saudi Cup. Too short, 1 turn, overmatched, wasn't ready for that yet. And his Pimlico Special was poor too. Now, I guess some people will think that the sloppy track or the wet track at Belmont in the Suburban last time was what moved him up. I just think that he started to fulfill the potential he showed all along. I do think he's a mile and a quarter horse. Getting him into the race earlier last time really helped. I think he's going to get a good trip here. It looks to me from watching his workouts he's done well at Saratoga, and I think at 5-2 or 3-1 he'd be a fair price. See what happens. Del Mar Derby, one of 2 super competitive turf stakes at Del Mar. I went with a horse who has been freshened a little bit, as running for the second time at the meet. No foolery here. If you watch all this horse's races, he's run well. He's done good things in every start, even going 3/4 first time out. I thought he closed well. Finished that off nicely at a distance that's proven shorter than his best. I even think a mile is a bit sharp for him. His 1-9 for a long race was an exceptional, but he did win his maiden in that start. And it just looked to me like the way the race unfolded in the rhythm, slightly slower, unfolding of everything, suited him better than Miles. That being said, off that maiden race, he was an absurdly high price coming back in stakes competition and ran the best race of his career. The race kind of fell apart a little bit. The winner was last early, came clear and wide on the outside of this horse, had to negotiate a little bit of traffic, and the jockey was on the brakes for, I thought, a key juncture, at the end of the far turn into the top of the home stretch. He finished best of all, galloped out in front briefly, wasn't allowed to gallop out all that strong. Since freshened, back out to 9 furlongs. Good draw, ran well over the course, and I think could be a little overlooked here in the Del Mar Derby. Swinging back to Saratoga, in fact, earlier on the card, the Grade 3 Saranac. Not a hugely compelling group of horses here, but I did get the sense that Public Sector is going to be the assumed winner for trainer Chad Brown. He ran pretty well last time, winning the Hall of Fame, but he did get through on the inside, saved all the ground. All the ground, didn't have a straw in his path, and I just wonder how much he's really developed. He was slightly disappointing at the end of last year, early this year. It looks like he's come on more, but I just think that his ceiling is not very high at all. I also think that he could turn out to be strictly a miler, and even a mile and a 16th is going to stretch him as far as an ideal distance range. TBD on that. But Brown has a second horse in here that does interest me at a considerably longer price. Founder, an upstart who seems to be good on turf. His first race this year was his turf debut. He didn't get a high placing, but if you watch the race and look at the sectionals, he actually ran better than it looked. He was kind of eliminated at the start when horses collapsed in on him from inside and outside, forcing him to the back of the field. There he stayed for a great part of the trip. It didn't look like they were interested in doing a lot of middle moving with him, but when they turned him loose in the stretch, I believe his final quarter mile was 22.50 seconds fastest in the race, which is a hint of better things to come. And in his stakes race last time in Monmouth, where I thought he was kind of easily the horse to beat, he did run even better than the basic line looks on paper, because Paco Lopez was near the back of the pack, probing up the rail around the 3/8 pole, decided that was going to be a fraught trip, too much traffic, just pulled back on the reins, steered totally to the outside, didn't care about losing ground, losing momentum. He still mowed the horses down easily to win with something left. I do think this horse has some upside to him on the day at a fair price, and I'll pick him to win the Saranac.
Let's head over to Del Mar with a look at the Del Mar Derby. Here's the field of 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. It's a grade 2 with the $250,000 purse. And as you can see, it is a big, bulky, competitive field. Check out all the video stakes previews, the expanded ones at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We have you covered with every graded stakes race all Labor Day weekend long. It is a wide open race. You can go so many different ways, and we did 3 different selections.
This Del Mar Derby at 1 1/8 miles for 3-year-olds on the turf drew a very big field, an overflow field. It's a wide open kind of race. It feels like a lot of different horses can win. And it just sort of feels like, that being the case, that trips are going to be very important. Maybe if that is the case, that I'm just taking the wrong horse here in the number 14 Flashiest, who's drawn on the far outside. He's going to need to work something out. I just think this horse is good. I feel like he's going to land in another race here that should set up very well for his late running style. I think there's enough pace in here to set up his run. And if he can work out a clean trip, I think he's going to be the right kind of price to come right back with to take another shot with. He won the Oceanside here, 2 starts back with a big late run, flying down the outside of the track. They did send him over to New York after that to try the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby. That didn't work out. He didn't get a great trip that day. It didn't work out. He's back home now in Southern California. The distance is no problem for him. I just think he's going to get a setup here and he's going to be a price. So I'm going to go back to Flashiest in a wide open Del Mar Derby that it feels like a lot of different horses can win.
This Del Mar Derby has drawn a fascinating 14-horse field, so maybe I'm making a little bit of a mistake in defaulting to a horse who could be the favorite in this race, but I just think there are a lot of signs pointing to the number 1 Hudson Ridge from the Bob Baffert stable. This horse has really taken some steps forward since he finally broke his maiden 4 starts back at Santa Anita. I like the way that he came back and won the Cinema Stakes out of that, then an allowance race going the same distance. We'll take a look at that allowance victory 2 back when he beat today's rival Flashiest, who did come out of this race to win a stakes next time, the Oceanside. And Hudson Ridge really relished the 9 furlong distance on this day. He took over the race in mid-stretch, finished up really strongly. Didn't seem like Flashiest was ever going to get to him on this day. And Hudson Ridge came out of this race and I thought was arguably best last time in the La Jolla. He did sustain some bumps through the stretch of that race. Also, that race featured a pretty fast pace that set it up for some closers, and Hudson Ridge was one of the ones making the first move into that pace, also while losing some ground around the far turn. Furthermore, Hudson Ridge is getting a rider switch to Flavian Pratt in this race, which I think is a real upgrade for him, and he's drawn the inside in this 14-horse field, which is going to help him due to the fact that he's a horse that has tactical speed and get position. And watching some of his recent races, it also seems like he's one that wants to lean in on other horses a little bit, so racing on the rail could really allow him to produce his best effort. So I'm going to take the number 1 Hudson Ridge in the Del Mar Derby.
This race to me has chaos written all over it, and I want to go for a big price in an evenly matched race. How about the 6? Optimistic Valor at 30-1 on the morning line. Let's go back to this horse's earlier start at Del Mar. The first race off the claim, the first race in Southern California, and he received a beautiful ride from Kent DeZormo. This horse could have gone wide on the second turn. Kent kept him in. He made all the right moves, splitting horses, bulling his way out, and finishing the deal off. Only an 82 Beyer speed figure. He'll have to improve a little bit, and he's taking a giant step up in class. The horses he just beat are $40,000 claimers. But this, to me, just looks like a race where these horses just keep beating each other in this division. I think Optimistic Valor has found himself coming from off of the pace. He was on the pace with his prior connections, and I just believe he has a little bit of upside potential. I'm curious to see what we get at a big price with a sharp horse that likes the course. Give me the 6, Optimistic Valor, at long odds in the Del Mar Derby. Best bets coming up next.
My best bet comes in Saturday's 8th race at Saratoga. It is the Grade 3 Saranac going 1.16 miles on the inner turf course. The number 1 Public Sector might be the slight favorite in this race. He's definitely coming into this with the strongest resume, having just won the Hall of Fame last time, and arguably he should be undefeated in his 4 starts so far in 2021 because his 2 losses at Belmont, he was compromised by slow paces. Really have no knocks against this horse. I just think that he's running into a serious rival coming back off the layoff, and that's the number 4, Never Surprised, who will be my best bet in here. I'm not expecting him to be some kind of great price. I've got him as the close second choice on the morning line at 8-5. I just feel like Never Surprised is a very likely winner of this race. If he comes back in the same form that we saw last year when he won this race that we're going to take a look at now, the Central Park at Aqueduct, in this race, he was wheeling back just 20 days after his 6-furlong debut victory, and he was really impressive, holding off a late charge from Hard Love, who was a very talented 2-year-old for Jonathan Thomas at that time, as those two draw well clear of the rest of the field. And Never Surprised was running the kinds of speed figures last year that were comparable to what Fire at Will ran to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and arguably Never Surprised was more impressive than that horse. So I think he was perhaps the best 2-year-old turf horse last season. Something went wrong in his debut as a 3-year-old at Gulfstream. I thought that he got a very poor ride that day, as Irad Ortiz just ripped him off the pace and really gave him no chance to use his speed. He's been off for a long time since then, but the plan this time with Louis Saez as board is going to be to go to the front end, dole out the fractions, and sprint away late, and I just think he's going to be tough for public sector to catch. So the number 4, Never Surprised, is my best bet at Saratoga on Saturday.
There are 2 major Grade 1 races to close out this Saturday card at Saratoga. I'm going to go with one of the other graded stakes races for my best bet. The Saranac is race number 8. It's for 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the turf course. My best bet on Saturday is going to be the number 5, Founder. He's one of 2 horses in here for trainer Chad Brown. Chad has the favorite down the rail, public sector. He's the horse to beat, coming off of a perfect trip win in the Hall of Fame against a modest field and maybe a race that isn't going to turn out to be that good. He's probably the horse to beat. I don't love him. Todd Pletcher has the other favorite in here, a horse who should show speed off the layoff and might, in fact, be very tough to catch. I think the number 4, Never Surprised, is a really dangerous horse in here at a short price, but I'm going to try to beat both of them with Founder. This is a horse who's only run twice on the grass. I think he's run really well in both of them. He comes off of a stakes win at Monmouth, where he just sat off the pace, came to the outside, and made a nice run through the stretch to close that field down. He's only run twice on turf. I think this is the surface that he's meant for, though. I like both of his races. He's going to be a price in here. I'm going to try to beat those 2 favorites and make Founder my best bet on Saturday.
I love that David and Mike have dueling best bets on the Saratoga Saturday card. My best bet comes 1 race earlier at the Spa. Race number 7's at 7 furlongs. It's a 2-year-old maiden special weight, and 7/8 of a mile can be a very demanding distance for first-time starters. And there are several first-time starters in this race, including a full brother to champion Songbird, that figure to take a lot of play at the windows. My horse, the number 10 Brigadier General, will be making his 3rd start. He might have the requisite bottom to get this distance. He ran okay in his career debut at Churchill Downs, second in a very fast maiden special weight, and in his one other start at this meet, he showed improved early speed, got caught up in a speed duel with a very promising Steve Asmussen-trained 2-year-old, and he tired in the stretch. I think he has the tactical speed to find a spot outside and in the clear, and in with a chance turning into the stretch, and the price might be right. He's 5-1 on the morning line. That's the 10 Brigadier General in race number 7 at Saratoga. We thank you for watching Out of the Gate. We urge you to follow all of DRFTV's video offerings. Follow us on YouTube, the Daily Racing Form channel on YouTube, and also for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority, Daily Racing Form, please follow us on Twitter at Daily Racing Form. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break.